Today is a very, very special day, and it's a day that I've been dreaming of for a long time, because today I'm going to show you our Oyster 825, which is called Champagne Hippy. And we're just in the tender, and we're going to just go around the outside of this boat because she is huge. So if you have a look there and just look at the garage, that's the garage and swim deck where you can do surfboarding. We fitted it out with ice maker and washer dryers. You can zoom in a bit if you want. You've got a washer dryer in there as well. On the left up the top there we've got a passerelle, which we can show you in a little while. You can see the twin rudders underwater, and you can see we've got a couple of little marks there. We'll polish those out later. And just this boat is so pretty. It's got such lovely lines, and the mast is 100 foot tall. Look at that mast. The boat is an absolute work of art. Coming round to the bow, just watch your fingers there on the camera. We've got a stainless chain, and we've got a lovely stainless anchor as well, and we've got twin Reckman hydraulic furlers. Now this boat has quite an interesting past. In fact, it's the most interesting Oyster ever built, because it had a bit of an accident and we had to repair it. We bought it, then we repaired it, and then we sailed her around, well, we didn't sail her around Europe, we sailed her across the Atlantic. So I'm going to give you an in-depth tour of this boat. So let's jump on board and see what she's like. So this is the foredeck of the Champagne Hippy, and as you can see, we've got a lovely Reckman furler here and another Reckman furler here. These are hydraulic furlers, so you just press a button and it twiddles the sails in. And I've got a quick story about them. I phoned Reckman up, who are German, and I said, could you refurbish these two winches, please, because they've been on the seabed? And they said, of course, yes, send them to us in Germany. So we sent them to Germany. They're really heavy. And about 2 weeks later, they phoned me up and they said, James, the cost will be 50,000. So I said, no, I don't want two new ones. I just want these repaired. And they said, no, that's the cost of two services and a refurbishment of the units. So I said, well, how much are new ones? And they're about £75,000 each. Can you believe that? So if you've just followed me around on the deck here, you'll get an idea of how big this boat is. Now, this is the original deck. All we did is sanded it and repaired it a little bit. But what I love about it is it's all flat. Look, I can walk everywhere and it's flat. These are air horns, not like you get on your car, but you turn these round somehow and it lets air into your cabins. By the way, I'll just admit I am not a sailing boat expert. So if any of you say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I don't. I really don't, but I'm going to do my best to explain. So here is the mast. This is the original mast, repaired by Formula. And as you can see, it's 100 foot tall. And this here, I think, is like a crane. So it goes up and then you can pick the tender up and put the tender on here. But most of the time we're towing the tender. Now the other interesting thing about this boat is, on most sailing boats you have wire rigging, but if you follow me, this boat is so big that it has stainless rod rigging. This was all done by Fox's in Ipswich. It's all brand new. Look at that, it's beautiful. Sails were done by Dolphin, if you ever look there. Dolphin sails. You've got hydraulics everywhere. hydraulics that go into the boom and the mast. Really, really nicely done. So, don't you love these little hoods? There's windows there and it just stops the water going in there. So if you follow me, we're going to go down the side decks, which are massive. Now what I love about Oysters is this lovely glass window. Can you see it? There's all the hoods. Oh, it's so nice. And look how uncluttered the decks are. This is a side gate for berthing. By the way, this is Cala de Mar, which is near Santa Ponsa in Mallorca. It's a lovely day. Look, here's the badge that tells you which boat model it is. Oyster 825. And these are the cockpit winches, which I'll explain again in a minute. Now, before we go into the cockpit, we do have a charter currently on board, and they've kindly agreed to let me walk around. So if you see lots of people, they're just enjoying themselves and I'm just getting in the way. So we're going to try and be as quick as possible. Now my favourite part of the boat is this aft deck. This aft deck is huge. If you stand over there, you can get a proper idea of how big this deck is. And I'm going to sit here to show you. I could get probably 8 people along there, another 8 along there. We've got, if you come over here, we've got a little shower made of carbon fibre. Isn't that cool? And then down below here we've got the bathing platform where you can swim off, and there is the brig tender, and here is the satellite communication mast, man overboard, and isn't that a beautiful flag? Okay, so the aft deck is huge, and the reason it's a big aft deck is because the boat was an 825, but the original Russian owner wanted it extended to an 885. So this is the extended aft deck, and it's then got the garage below, which can take a tender, but we've converted into a utility room, which I will show you in a minute. These are hatches into the master cabin, but again, look how they're all smooth. There's nothing to stub your toes on. And just look at the size of these winches. This is actually a Lumar winch, and these have all been refurbished too. If you just follow me back slightly here, we've got the twin helm positions, port and starboard. These are the original wheels, but we have put all new electronics and systems on board. So if you have a little peek here, you've got vang up, vang down. These are all the hydraulic buttons. This is the sat nav GPS, and these are the screens for autopilot and depth and what have you. Bilge alarms here, compass here, and you've got more bilge, and you've got more lights here. It's got lights up and down the mast. It looks like a Christmas tree. Look, we've got a lovely bimini. So even on a day like today, it's 32 degrees, it still feels really comfortable. And over here, we have the port helm, which has exactly the same, except it's also got the engine controls, because this boat is fitted with a Scania 350 horsepower diesel. And the reason we chose a Scania, because we fitted the Scania, is because the lifeboat used them. And we thought if it's reliable enough for the lifeboat, it's reliable enough for us. So that's 350 horsepower, and it will give you about 8 to 10 knots. But these boats, it's not all about the engine, as you know, it's all about the sails. These are carbon fibre, by the way. Can you see those? Aren't they nice? Okay, so moving into the cockpit, we decided that we would make a big chessboard. Now, the guests on board say, I've just finished lunch, so excuse the glasses, etc. But we made this chessboard, and it's magnetic, so that if the boat's leaning, you can still play chess and your figures won't fall off the table. We've also put a fridge under here as well. And when we were refitting the boat, we decided, if you could just see past this sunscreen, we've got 4 Raymarine instruments here, which when you're sailing at night, and we've got another 4 over there, can you see those? When you're sailing at night, it's lovely. Now, before we go down into the accommodation, I want to show you the electric door. Okay, when we bought the boat, this electric door, it's a key part of the boat. So we had to keep it, but the other one was broken. So we bought a new one, and as you can see, just press this button here, and it's electric. And the reason it's electric is because sailing boats lean over when they're sailing, and if you try and move something against a leaning boat, it'll be very, very difficult. But as you can tell, it's a doddle when you just press these buttons. This was handmade in England, and it cost another £20,000. So this is the saloon, and if you come downstairs, you can get an idea of how big it is. Now, I'm 6'1", and I can just touch the ceiling, so it's a lovely big space, and you've got all this lovely natural light. And because we're from Essex, we put some big stereo speakers in here and throughout the whole boat. Now, when the boat was originally built, it had a teak, dark teak finish. We decided that we would rather have a lighter finish, so we went with this American white oak, which I think looks really cool. So this is the focus of the boat, the central part of the boat, and we have, if I can best explain, at the bow on this side, which I'm going to show you in a second, we have a double cabin and bathroom. The boat has 4 cabins, 4 bathrooms, and it has 3 crew beds. This is the galley here for the crew to serve and produce all the food. We've got down here, which I'll show you in a second, we've got the nav station and access to the engine bay. And then at the stern of the boat down here, we have the master cabin at the back, and we have a port side twin and a 3rd bunk option and a double. So let's go and look at the master. So this is the master. You go down here, down this lovely little corridor. We won't bother looking at those rooms, and we come into the master. Now again, excuse the lived-in approach because there are charter guests on board at the moment, but look at the size of this room. Look how big it is. It's huge. And if you just look over there, go over there, look at the size of this TV. Beautiful big TV, big wardrobes. Look how deep they are, and they've even got lights that turn on. I remember doing that. And we've got the hatches up there to the back deck that I showed you. We did everything. We did every piece of wood you see, every lining you see, every ceiling panel, everything is brand new. The beds, the leather bed surrounds, this lovely curved furniture around the bed here. Behind the ceiling panels is the steering system, which is stainless chain. It's beautiful. And then you've got these lovely bathrooms. Have a little look in there. With the best quality toilets. I'm not going to do any jokes because you know my brothers tell me off if I do jokes. So as you can see, it's a lovely master cabin. Now what no one tells you about master cabins is sometimes they're nearer the machinery space. So if boats are sailing or moving, sometimes this is the noisiest cabin. So when my brother and I and a load of our friends and some professionals sailed this boat across the Atlantic, my brother Nick had the room, and he said that because we were going 24/7 and we were doing 8 to 12 knots, it was actually quite noisy. But when you're at anchor, which is how most people use the boat, it's absolutely fine. So we go back down the corridor now. We're now going to go into the starboard, which is a double, nice little window, and another little bathroom here. Oh, let me turn the light on. Where's the light there? Another bathroom and shower in there. You see that? Towel rails. Big air conditioners here as well. Now this was my cabin when we sailed across the Atlantic, and the boat was heeling over to port, so most of the time I was on the floor there. But you'll see in some of the cabins, have you noticed these little hooks? These little hooks hold a lee cloth. When the boat is sailing, it stops you falling out of bed. But I was so lazy, I couldn't be bothered to put the lee cloth up at night. So when I was asleep, we'd start leaning over and I'd just end up on the floor. So in the end, I put all the cushions on the floor and I made the whole thing into one big bed, and it worked really well. So this is the portside cabin. Now when we redesigned the boat, the starboard cabin was the galley, but this was always the twin cabin. But we added this lovely, if you come in the room, we added this lovely Pullman bunk which comes down here, so you can sleep 3 people in here. God, the air conditioning's good in here. And you'll see these hooks again. See all the woodwork. Look at the door. Every door is new. Look at the lovely door handles we chose. Look, we've even got a mirror on it. Drawers everywhere. Another bathroom in there, because as I said, every cabin's got a bathroom. So back in the saloon again, we're now going forward. But before we go right forward, I want to show you this lovely little picture that I bought at the Dusseldorf Boat Show, made by Latitude Kinsale. And it's of our favourite place in the Balearics, which is Formentera. It is lovely. So let's go into cabin 4, which is here. And it's another double. They've all got air conditioning, they've all got TVs, they've all got music, they've all got lee cloth brackets, they've all got en suites. Now behind this cupboard here, come in, let's have a look here. This is where the mast is. There you go. That's the mast, and that goes right to the bottom of the boat, and that's a very important part of the boat, because without that we're not sailing anywhere. So this is the nav station. This here controls all the boat's systems, and you press these touchscreens, and because it's all 2019, it all works really, really well. You've got a controller there, I think that's the air conditioning. We put titanium fins on the air conditioning so it's better. That's the batteries. We got a big plotter here. Now down here we've got some really fancy instruments. You can see the Scania control here that starts the engine. These are normal instruments. This, however, is a category 0 VHF, which cost a fortune, and it means you can broadcast worldwide. Now, it's the latest technology, but have a look at the handset. That is not the latest technology, but that is what you get if you buy one of these. This is the more traditional VHF. By the way, I must just say, when it comes to coding, this boat has category 0, which is very unusual. It means you can go around the world on charter. That's very, very rare. I don't think many oysters have got that. We did that because we wanted the boat to be absolutely flawless, which it is. Now we've got the little space down here which leads into the engine room. Now Jake the skipper has had a couple of issues the last couple of days, including a broken water pump, a broken water maker, and a few other bits and pieces. So he said don't spend too long down here because it's not looking as it should. But we're going to ignore him anyway, and we're going to go in and have a little peek. There's the generator. Got another generator there. You've got mirrored ceilings so you can see for engine leaks. You've got the Scania diesel here, all the fuel filters here, sorry, water filters here, and down over here you've got the Lumar hydraulic pumps, water makers, etc. It's an absolute work of art down here. There's the air conditioners, and hot water tanks. I don't know what that says. Cool. Anyway, and also underneath that engine is the keel, and it's 20 tons of keel. Wowzers. Okay, so we're going to go into the galley now. We bought this big Miele wine fridge because what else is there to do when you're sailing other than drink wine and beer and go sailing? I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So we put that in there. A lot of people thought we're mad, and we probably were, but I think it looks really good. Anyway, come and look at the galley. Again, apologies, this is a working galley. You've got this little, let's see how that works. This here, look. So when you're at sea, it tilts so that it's always cooking when you're flat. So put that there. Loads of storage. We went with a white kitchen just to keep it simple. We've got Miele appliances. We've got a lovely Miele fridge here, which will be full of food. It's absolutely crammed full of food. Oh, look at that bacon. That looks lovely. And now we're going to move forward into the crew cabin, which the crew don't want me to go into, but I'm going to be really quick and have a quick look round. So follow me. So we're now walking towards the bow. There's the Miele washing machine. There's a Miele dryer in the garage, which I'll show you in a minute. And then if you keep walking forward, you've got 2 bunks here. And then if you pass me the camera, we have a double here for the captain. And he's got a TV and all these oddments and a nice little sun hatch, as you can tell. So all in all, oh, if I shut this door, we can go into this one, which says keep closed at sea. And in here is loads of sails, and it looks like it's a place to put all your bits and pieces, like hoovers and things. But look, it's massive. Anyway, that looks really boring, so we won't bother going in there. So we're on the back deck. Come on up, just ignore me. And we're about to go into the utility room, but before we do that, I just want to show you what most people end up doing when they come boating in a beautiful place like this, which is just sit and play around in the water. I mean, how much fun is that? I mean, that's what boating's all about, isn't it? Just having some fun. So anyway, it's all right for me to come down now, Jake? Okay, so I'm going to go down into the utility room, so follow me down. Oh dear. Oh. Right, pass me the phone, please. Okay, so in here we have a dryer, we have all these lovely cupboards. Over there we have the best ice maker. And how much ice does it make, Jake?
Too much.
It makes too much ice. That is the problem with the ice maker. This is where the sea bobs go. But they're currently just having a service. We get them back in the next day or two, and we've got the platform there, we've got more cupboards here, we've got inflatable toys here, we've got water skis, we've got people out here enjoying themselves in the water.
Hello.
Look at that, look at that, you can't make that up, can you? This is perfect. And there's Captain Jake keeping an eye on proceedings. I bet he wish he was in there too. I tell you what, boating is brilliant. So we'll go back up this hatch and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the story. So let me tell you a story. This boat had an accident in 2015 and unfortunately it sunk. A couple of years later, after it was raised after 3 months, the insurance company asked us to bring it back to the UK. So we brought it back to the UK. People love push themselves off the boat here. And I want to be doing that. There they go, loads of them jumping off. It's not that bad, this story, come on. And we brought it back to the UK. We towed, would you believe it, through the Dartford Tunnel at 6 p.m. on a Friday night. It did fit, without the mast obviously. And then my brothers and I decided what to do. Should we just sell the boat as it is, because by that time we'd bought it, or should we do it up? And we decided we would rebuild her. And we rebuilt her, and we finished that in October 2019. So it took us a year and a half to rebuild her. It was so much work. Some days we had 30 people working on the boat, but I absolutely loved it because it was bringing this beautiful machine back to life. We also decided that to hit our October deadline we needed an incentive, so we gave ourselves the incentive of doing the ARC 2019, which, if you don't know what the ARC is, it's a race across the Atlantic Ocean. And we found a sticker on this boat that said it had done it in 2015, I think, or 2014, when she was new. So we entered the race, and me, my brother, a few friends, and with the help of championship sailor Alex Alley, we sailed from Las Palmas to St. Lucia. I think it took 10 or 12 days, and we sailed 24 hours a day. And I even did some sailing. Now what's funny is that these boats, once they're on autopilot, these wheels twiddle to the left, twiddle to the right, and they kind of sort themselves out. But halfway across the Atlantic, a tropical storm came up behind us. We had forgotten to take the instrument autopilot to wind off, which maximizes the autopilot so that the wind gives you the most speed. And in the middle of the storm, which hit really quickly, you could see it on the radar screens, it came from behind and it hit us, and it hit that sensor and it made the sensor go funny, and we went straight to port. God, we were doing 12 knots and then we were doing 0 knots, so it was a bit of a scary experience. However, this boat is built so beautifully that it didn't even creak. It still doesn't creak. You listen now, listen. It's silent. It is built beautifully. Absolutely no expense spared. Now, you might ask, why did the keel fall off? Well, I'm not going to get into all the details of it because there's lots of theories online, but the bottom line is the keel came off with the matrix, which is the GRP that holds it to the boat, and went to the bottom of the sea. We reused the keel. We poured it into a new mould with some new threads, and we rebuilt the whole bottom of the boat and rebuilt the whole boat as I've just shown you. So you can see it's absolutely stunning. And even down here, if you look down here, you've got the original Oyster plate here, which is all we did is just gave it a little bit of polish. Can you see that there? 825 number 2. Another VHF down there, and it's just absolutely lovely. Now, all good stories, well, all good stories that I say anyway, have a nice end. So we have now been chartering this boat since for the last 2 years actually, and as you can see, she's very popular and she charters very well. But we've decided that we know motorboats better. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that we understand motorboats better. So we've decided that we're going to sell this boat, and she's currently on the market with ourselves and Berthon. But if you follow me, just look how grand this boat is. She is stunning. This boat is quite an emotional boat for me and the brothers, because we took something that really needed a lot of work, took it back to basics, started from scratch, and rebuilt and redesigned this boat to be the beautiful craft it is today. It's also emotional because we then sailed it across the Atlantic. Now, I've never sailed across the Atlantic, but we sailed across the Atlantic in a boat that we built, which made it very, very special. And since then, she's been entertaining dozens of families who are enjoying this beautiful piece of English engineering. And I must take my hats off to Oyster. Okay, this boat had a couple of faults, but what I would say is she's come back and she's better than ever. And if you ever want an advertisement for how beautifully built an Oyster is, surely it can't be better than this boat. There's the Miele washing machine. There's a Miele dryer in the garage, which I'll show you in a minute. Here's the crew bathroom, which... Oh, the crew are in, sorry.